All right, let's just dive right in. In this explainer, we are cutting straight through all the noise of the AI boom. Look, you already know artificial intelligence is completely reshaping the market, but the actual playbook for landing a job in this space, it is being rewritten overnight. So today, we're unpacking the data to separate the AI hiring myth from the reality of what organizations are actually desperate for right now.
Now, I want you to really think about this for a second. What skill are AI companies actually hiring for today? When you hear that, you might immediately think, well, I need to be an elite machine learning engineer, or I probably need a PhD in computer science. And honestly, it makes perfect sense that we'd assume that. For years, tech companies hammered home this idea that only top-tier coders could even touch this space. But the answer to this question today, it might actually surprise you.
See, for years, the baseline expectation, the absolute standard, was raw coding, deep machine learning theory, and some really complex mathematics. But the reality is entirely different now. Today's AI companies value the ability to solve real-world problems using existing AI tools above almost everything else. Put simply, they aren't looking for someone who just memorizes programming syntax. They are looking for professionals who can combine technical knowledge with creativity, communication, and highly practical thinking to build useful solutions.
Think about it. Just a few short years ago, the old way was basically the only way. Companies mainly hired AI specialists who had to build machine learning models completely from scratch. It was highly specialized, incredibly slow, and really expensive. But modern, accessible tools like OpenAI's ChatGPT, Google Gemini, Anthropic Claude, plus this massive explosion of open source models have totally flipped the script. Companies don't necessarily need you to build the engine anywhere. They just need you to know how to drive the car. They want people who can look at a business problem, pick the right tools, automate the workflows, and actually analyze the results.
And because of this huge shift away from building models to actively applying them, a completely new professional profile has emerged. And the absolute best part, it's a profile that almost anyone can adopt, regardless of your background. This is really becoming the true hero of the modern workforce.
Enter the AI generalist. So an AI generalist is someone who understands multiple areas instead of specializing in just one super narrow field. Think about what this actually looks like in practice. A marketing professional who uses AI to brainstorm campaign ideas, crunch customer data, and automate content. They're an AI generalist, and they are incredibly valuable. Or what about a standard software developer who suddenly learns how to integrate large language models into their existing apps? They are an AI generalist too, and they just gave themselves a massive, massive advantage in the job market. Now, if we peek inside the AI generalist's toolkit, it's the sheer variety that stands out. You've got basic programming sitting right next to soft skills like communication and product thinking. Then there's data analysis, workflow automation, and prompt engineering. The secret here isn't mastering every single one of these concepts to a PhD level. No, the secret is the combination. By blending just a few of these really accessible skills together, everyday professionals are giving themselves a huge competitive edge over pure specialists who might lack that practical business sense. Actually, let's pull one specific tool out of that kit for a second, because we are literally living through the prompt engineering boom. This is a skill that, at the peak of the recent hype, saw companies throwing around wild six-figure salaries just for knowing how to talk to a chatbot. And while the market has stabilized a bit since then, it remains one of the fastest-growing skills in the entire industry. It simply means giving clear, structured instructions to AI systems to get useful outputs. Because how you talk to the AI dramatically changes the quality of the work it spits out. And the applications here, they're practically endless. We're talking content writing, coding, research, design, customer support, education, data analysis. It touches literally everything. Companies have quickly figured out that they don't want employees who just use AI like a glorified search engine. They want employees who treat AI as an active collaborator. If you know how to interact effectively with these systems, your productivity absolutely goes through the roof. Okay, so how do you actually do this effectively? Well, it's a bit of a process. First off, you've got to ask better layered questions. You have to move way past those simple single-sentence prompts. Then, take complex tasks and break them down so the AI can process them step by step. From there, critically evaluate the output, seriously, never just accept the first draft, and intelligently refine it until you get exactly what your business needs. Mastering this fluid back-and-forth process turns a basic AI interaction into a legitimate workplace superpower.
Now, speaking of superpowers, there is another one we really need to talk about. And frankly, it is heavily underrated right now. In our rush to embrace all this artificial intelligence, people constantly underestimate the absolute necessity of human connection. See, there is a pretty massive gap between pure technical skills, like knowing how the AI actually works under the hood, and communication skills, connecting that tech with real everyday users. AI companies highly value professionals who can sit directly in the middle of those two worlds and explain complex technical ideas in simple, everyday language. I mean, think about it. An engineer who can clearly communicate with clients, managers, non-technical designers, and stakeholders, they are vastly more valuable to a business than a brilliant engineer who only knows how to talk to computers. Organizations are still scrambling to learn how to adopt these tools, so translators are worth their weight in gold.
Right alongside communication is the crazy reality of the landscape we're operating in. The AI industry is moving at breakneck speed. We're seeing new tools, new frameworks, and new models appearing almost weekly. Because of all this chaos, adaptability is becoming the ultimate currency. Companies care deeply about your capacity for continuous, independent learning. And because of that need for adaptability, employers are completely shifting their priorities. The old reliance on theoretical knowledge, formal certificates, and standardized tests, that is fading fast. Today, employers want practical experience. They want to see your problem-solving in action. They're looking for rich portfolios, live GitHub repositories, and real-world AI experiments. A student or professional who spends their weekends building real projects and tinkering with AI tools is going to consistently outperform someone who only has a theoretical certificate on their wall. Practical skills are officially outweighing the paper they're printed on. So the big question is, how do you capitalize on this? Well, here is your practical action plan. First, nail down the fundamentals of AI and machine learning. Second, practice your prompt engineering every single day. Third, actually build small, real-world projects to prove you can do it. Fourth, pick up some basic coding and automation skills. Fifth, intentionally work on your communication and presentation skills so you can explain your work to literally anyone. And finally, stay consistently updated with how businesses are actively using these trends. When you zoom out, it all really boils down to this one core idea. The future belongs to people who can work with AI, not compete against it. Companies aren't just searching for traditional programmers anymore. They want adaptable problem solvers. They want people who can seamlessly combine human creativity and communication with powerful technology. Which leaves us with one final question for you to chew on. How are you going to build your AI portfolio today? The opportunity here is absolutely massive. So stop worrying about whether or not you have a PhD in computer science. Stop worrying about knowing every single coding language out there. Start focusing on practical problem solving. Start experimenting, start communicating, and most importantly, start building.